Let's talk about the rest of the Oklahoma City Thunder, the NBA champs. Their under-25s, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, the big fella, Ousmane Dieng, Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I just want to take a moment to talk about one of the best transitions that we've ever seen, and that is Rory Lobb becoming the best key defender in the AFL. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We're available on all platforms. Live NBA draft show. It's coming up on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Join me here on YouTube. The link is everywhere. It's in the description of the audio and video. It's pinned on the YouTube page. You'll see it. You'll find it. It's easy. Join me. We'll talk NBA draft. We talked earlier today about the Thunder and their older group, which is not that old. It's Hartenstein, it's Shea, it's Caruso, it's Dort, those sort of guys. Now we talk about the under-25s, and we are going to start the under-25s, of course, with a couple of very high-level players. Someone who you may think had an argument to win the Finals MVP, who had moments as a first-round player in fantasy this season. Second round, third round, he's going to be around that area for a long time, and that is the big fella, who's not that big, but also played center this season quite a bit, and that is Jaylin, the Bronco, Williams. Jaylin Williams. Okay, so we can go all the way back to when he was drafted. My initial period of going through that draft, I didn't love him. I think it was pretty good. It was some interesting stuff. I got talked into him, and I ended up not talked into him. Like I talked to a lot of people, and I looked into it. I go, this is an interesting player. Looks good. He's a little on the older side. He's not super old. He's a little on the older side. And I had him going around that area that he was drafted, right? I did not expect for a million years that he'd become this good. As a rookie, I was probably ahead of him where other people were. And then, honestly, I did pull back a little bit. There was some of the stuff where I went, I'm not sure that some of this stuff is believable. I'm not sure that the three-point shooting is going to stick at this level. I'm not sure that the defensive stats are going to stick at this level. And also, to be honest, I think there is some truth in that. But he just continues to be an unbelievably good player. Where it sits for fantasy remains a little debatable, because there was a period where he was a first-round player this season. He was playing small ball center for this team when Chet and Hartenstein were out, and he was putting up great numbers. There is an urge to look at Jalen Williams, who had an ADP of 36 this season, which was a little bit higher than I think people initially. I think he came in the 50s maybe in ADP. There were some who were looking at him as maybe a second-round guy. And I'm sure there's many of you sitting here looking at Jalen Williams, who's 24 years of age, and saying, I think this guy is a clear second-round player. I'm not sure that's true. And here is the reasons why. Okay, so he's 24. He's still going to improve. I do believe that. He improved a decent amount this season, but also, if you look at the impact stats, not that much. His playoffs the year before, they were pretty bad. I thought that when the pressure was on and he had to step up with some self-creation stuff, he didn't do it. I would also say that in these last playoffs, he had some moments that weren't particularly good either. His finals were good. I don't think there's much debating that. I think his NBA finals play was really strong. But I don't think it was that way all through the finals. And there's been a little bit of that through his career so far, that in games in the playoffs that he just hasn't quite gotten to the area that we want him to get to all the time. He shot, for example, across these playoffs, 30% from three. That's very clearly not good enough. All right, he averaged 21 points a game, but the overall efficiency was well down, which does happen in the playoffs, but an E field goals are under 50 and shooting under 80 from the line is not great. I would imagine that if you're watching this video now, you can see the numbers. He's the 36th ranked player this season, 35th, 32nd in points leagues. He was 41st post-trade deadline. You would look at these numbers, 21.5 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.6 steals, 48 and 79. You'd look at all those numbers, and you'd probably sit there and go, well, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's 24, he's going to get better, he's going to be a second-round guy, I'll take him at 20. I think that a lot of you would think that if you didn't know those numbers. But there are just some things that I don't know. We love his impact. We love what he does. Can 28 usage become higher? Probably tough on this team. It's okay, the free throws, not good. Not bad, not good. Average. 3-point numbers, 37%. He did have some really strong runs, and he's had some terrible runs, and he backs them up with 42% shooting runs. And that's the thing where I've had some concerns with Williams, is that the shooting is very rarely consistent. It's sky high, it's dreadful, and it balances out. And it balances out sort of mid-pack here. Yeah, 22, 5, and 5 is great. These are Jalen Brownish numbers, except with more steals and better free throws, and that's great. What's the next thing he does, though? Does he become an 83 shooter from the line? 40 from 3? I have my doubts. 6 assists? I have my doubts. Does he do better than 1.6 steals and 0.7 blocks? Guess what? I have my doubts. Yeah, he's had some big steal moments in the past, but also remember, as usage scales up, steals usually scale down. And that has been the case with Jalen, who, wasn't it in his rookie season, January onwards, he led the league in steals total? And that's come down. It's still good, but it's come down. Deflection rate, 88th percentile. That's good. Rim contest, 90th percentile. Unbelievably good player. But when we talk about jumping from this number, the 35th ranked player, to being 20th, how? What do we do more? Is it more minutes than 32? I guess it's possible. Maybe we play 34, but this Thunder team probably won't need that. Does the usage rise? Unlikely. Steals and blocks? Unlikely. Assists? Unlikely. It's probably just going to have to be in free throws and three-pointers, which can happen. And he's reliable. And you would look at him and go, there's more likelihood that he gets better than worse. But it's not like a guarantee that he is this elite, top 15, top 20 fantasy guy. I don't think. Not to say that he can't be it, but when you look at the numbers and look what he does, what is the path to it? With the current team context and with his current skill context as well. Where does he get there? Let's talk about another player who could be a second-round player, and that is Chet Holmgren. I was a little out on Chet heading into this season. He had an ADP of 18. I had him 28th heading into the season, and he was significantly worse than that. He's someone that can be overrated by ranking algorithms due to the blocks and the low turnovers, and we all know to be cautious of that. I'm sure there's many, many examples of you being burnt by those sort of things in the past. Now, Chet's season obviously was ruined by that fractured hip, and his first 2-3 games of the season were ridiculously good. They're unbelievable. He was the 8th best player or 6th best player, but was never going to hold at that number. In the end, he finished 86th, 60th before the deadline, 93rd after the deadline. He finished 66th in points leagues, averaging 35 points. He had some struggles in the playoffs, absolutely. He's not ever going to be a super high usage player, I don't think. He's already 23. We know that. It's not old, but yeah. So when we look at his numbers, 15 and 8, with 2.2 blocks, with 75 from the line, and 1.4 threes, the thing you look at and go, okay, 27 minutes. He'll probably play 30, 31, I would guess, next season. So that should all rise. But as we've mentioned a million times, when you play power forward, and I'd imagine that Chet and Hartenstein, Chet probably moves more to the perimeter considering he shoots threes and Hartenstein doesn't. But how they work on defense is also a different story. But look, there's going to be crossover, right? Your rebounds drop, your field goal percentage drops, your block attempts or block rate usually drops. And that stuff did happen. He averaged 8 rebounds. His scoring numbers weren't strong. And while it's easy to look at Chet in his third actual season in the NBA and his 4th year total, stepping up again and playing more minutes, I agree with that. I'm not sure if the general shape of his game alters that much. Yeah, probably he can get to 52 from the field. But he's never been a great free throw guy. There's been some moments of good free throws and then it falls away. So I don't look at him as a strong 80% guy. The 3-point numbers at that number, I actually fear they can drop versus improving. And while Hartenstein is there, the rebounds will be harder to get higher. So it's easy to look at Chet and go, well, he was injured. We'll be able to get a really good discount on him and maybe he bumps back to second round. I don't think that's the case. Now, I do think that you'll be able to get a nice value on him, and taking him at 50 or 40 or 40 or whatever is probably a good spot. But I don't think this is a first rounder hiding in plain sight necessarily just because of context. And yeah, if he was in a situation where he was able to get 26 usage and he didn't play with Hartenstein, we might get there. But that's not the case. That's not reality. Best case for him I could see is the 25th best player, I think, for this upcoming season. I love Chet. I think he's a really good player and one of the he's a top 5 defensive player in the NBA already, maybe. Does that all translate across to fantasy? Not really in that way. So that's why I'd just be a little bit cautious about where I put the value. Now, in Dynasty, again, it's a different story. A lot of injuries, clearly. And then the context of the team around him. Would you think that he's a top 15 Dynasty guy? I'm going to have some doubts, honestly. Just because I look at these numbers, and again, this can all jump. We can add an extra 5 minutes on. He becomes 18 and 9 with 2.4 blocks. But will he be reliable with threes or free throws or field goals? Will the rebounds spike to a level that makes him that higher level player? And will he ever be a 20-point scorer, at least in the next 3 years? And my answer to that is, at this point, no. I don't think so. So I love Chet. I value him as a player, much like with Jalen Williams. Team context probably just suppresses some of the stuff that he does. And that, I don't think you're going to be in any risk of overdrafting Chet in the upcoming season because of the injuries and because of some of the issues in the playoffs. But just be cautious of, like, if you take him, I got him at 30 and he's a top 10 guy. I don't think that's true. If you get him at 40 and go, well, this could be a top 25 guy, then okay, I get it. But there is context around that stuff. We'll come back and talk about a few more of these guys in a sec. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder where did all the money go? Dining out, online shopping, entertainment. It's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You track all your accounts, your investments, your spending, all in one place, so you can stop managing money and start building your wealth. You can set plans in there. You can have a look on Monarch Money and go, am I going to be buying sparkling wine or am I going to buy champagne? Check those things out. It's all there. You can share all your expenses and tracking and your budgeting with your partner as well. It makes it seamless so you can have those shared goals together on Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA for half off in your first year. Today's episode is also brought to you by Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. If you had an urgent need and you had to call someone, maybe it was a plumber, maybe it was an electrician, maybe you needed an emergency pedicure, I don't know, you wouldn't wait 3 hours for them to call you back. You go on to the next emergency pedicurist out there to get them over to cut your toenails because time is important, and that's where Open Phone comes in. Open Phone is the number one business phone system to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or on your computer. Plus, they've got the shared inbox feature, which is a game changer. It means that anyone in your team can jump in on any conversation instantly without missing a beat. Open Phone is offering all of you guys 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That is openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you've got existing numbers with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, let's continue rolling through this Thunder under 25 grouping. We've done Jaylin, we've done Chet. Now let's get on to the Hong Kong mattress, Cason Wallace, who had moments of being a useful fantasy player this season. He also had moments of not being a useful fantasy player. He had moments of strong play in the playoffs. He had moments of what is this guy doing in the playoffs? And again, context of the team is incredibly important. Wallace, second-year player. He's 21 years of age. He had an incredibly low usage. I do believe that if Cason Wallace, much like with Jalen Williams, but more so with Cason, if Cason Wallace was on a different team, he could be a 21 usage guy in year 2 very easily. He could be a lead point guard with elite defensive skills. And if that happened, the steal numbers and that would fall because that's how things happen. He's someone who was not forced to sacrifice necessarily, but when you play for Kentucky, your skills can be suppressed somewhat. And then he's gone into a situation with the Thunder where it's a similar thing, but he knows how to play his role. I think that Wallace is absolutely an elite defender. He played 28 minutes a night, averaged 1.8 steals, 0.5 blocks. He shot 36 on threes and 81 from the line. The whole profile is already there. But it's just so low volume. He doesn't really have the ball that much. 23 offensive load, 51st percentile on ball. His passing volume, 70th percentile. He's a decent passer, but it's just going to take so much to get there. And now the problem on the Thunder is not only is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the starting point guard, but now Nikola Jovic can come in and be the backup point guard. So is Wallace just a full-time off-ball guard who's the new Lou Dort eventually? Maybe. We saw Wallace, he was ranked 122nd this season. He was 181st in points league, so he's a better category than points league guy, largely because his major category is steals. And we don't over-index steals. We don't go crazy on steals and thinking that they're the be-all and end-all. For example, in 9Cat total rankings, guess where he's ranked? 75th. And you know what that means? He was in the top half of all fantasy players, allegedly, according to those rankings, which very clearly, when you average 8, 3, and 2.5, you're not. So don't get over-indexed on it. He is a very strong steals guy. He is a guy that you can use and feel a level of confidence in his play, right? It's not going to spike, though, because you need multiple things to change in order for that to happen. in Dynasty, I still do like him. I think that he has, in his future, an 18 point, 2 threes, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 1.6 steals season. But it probably doesn't happen for 5 years. Because he's either got to be not on this team, or this team's got to have guys like, Shai's 27. If Shai's 32, does Cason step into a larger role then? It could be one of those things where I really do believe in Cason as a player. I was big on him coming into the draft, and I love what I've seen, but I'm only seeing it in these small doses. And he's succeeding in it, but for us, that doesn't matter that much. For him to still be like the 122nd ranked player with a 12 usage, averaging 8 points, again, it's largely steals, but the efficiency stuff is good. And I think it's all going to get better. Will they be able to entrust him with more usage next season? Probably. Will the passing volume go down? Also probably. And steals are quite variable. He's not a draftable guy in 12-team leagues. And in Dynasty, he's almost like drafting a rookie waiting for something to develop. Because again, the pathway is not here. He's not banging the door down necessarily. I do think he will entrench as a solid starter on this Thunder team, maybe even this season. 32 minutes a night, possibly. But still, that's going to be a single category guy who's just a deeper league player in points leagues. I really like him. He's just in such a weird spot in terms of no ability to really thrive or grow that it's going to create some problems in terms of whether he's ever able to actually hit that ceiling, which I think he has. And not all ceilings get realized. And I think that's where we are with Cason, unfortunately. Or if it happens, it's probably 4 years away. But we always keep an eye on it. For example, like this is a hypothetical. What if the Bucks decided to trade Giannis to the Thunder? Obviously, people would be pissed because the league is ruined, right? But one of the pieces going back would be Cason Wallace. And he'd just be the starting point guard, play 35 minutes a night, and probably get 17 and 7 with 2 steals in year 1. All right? That's the sort of thing that I mean. I think that he is that good. And it's just going to take a long time to actually get there, unfortunately. Let's talk about the other Jaylin Williams. Let's talk about Pig Williams, the Vietnamese legend, the big man, who, much like all of the Thunder centers early this season, was injured. He can play a little bit of the 4. He plays the 5. But, yeah, he's one of these guys that's an interesting center who's turned into a really reliable shooter. He's not a super strong rim protector at all. He's a little bit inconsistent, but he's a strong rebounder. And given the role, again, with Chet and Hartenstein in the way, it's hard to see how the minutes become interesting. 15 usage, 17 minutes. He was the 165th ranked player, which is, again, crazy as a third-string center averaging 17 minutes. How was he that good? Well, I'll tell you how. 6 and 5.5 is very good in 17 minutes. And those rankings aren't based on per minute. He also averaged 2.6 assists. 0.6 blocks is not good enough, but 77 from the line. He hit 39 from 3. He's just doing little bits and pieces. But we also know, and I think most people playing fantasy know this, or following the Thunder know this, is that when he was out there, when the other guys were resting, this guy just cooked. He had multiple triple-doubles. He had a 15, 11, and 10 with 3 threes, a steal, and a block on the 11th of April. He had 19, 17, and 11 with 3 threes and 2 steals in 38 minutes. He had 10, 11, and 11 with 3 steals and 2 blocks in 36 minutes. They put him in as a starter in games, and he was great. Like nearly every game that he started. If I have a look at his numbers as a starter, he played 24 minutes. He averaged 10, 8, and 5 with a steal and 0.8 blocks. He shot 49 from the field and 45 from 3. Honestly, that's just like elite numbers for a second-year, undersized center who doesn't really sort of have his role yet. Do I feel as good about Jaylin Williams as I do about Cason Wallace? Not really. But I also didn't really rate Jaylin Williams coming into the draft either. And his rim protection stuff is still a problem, but he's turned into a shooter who's somehow a passer now. He's a good rebounder. He actually, again, onto another team. I don't know how true this is, but if he went to the Lakers, he'd just be their starting center, easily, yeah? I don't think that's going to happen, but he'd easily be their starting center. If he went to the Bulls and they ended up getting rid of Vooch, he'd be their starting center. This is a guy where there is some hidden top 100 potential, but it's probably got a 10% chance of getting there. And the flashes were there. Rebounding, passing, shooting, some steal and block stuff, some scoring, some ramp ability. Not the best player, not someone who would have a 10-year run at that level. But just super impressive what he was able to do in games where, in the games where he was big, it wasn't like, he's just thriving because of everyone else. It was like, everyone else is out. And this guy's stepping up. It's just a massive year from him in year three. That was his third season. But really under the radar because the team is stacked. So just another one of those names that if anything ever shakes loose, and he's got a team option for this year, I'm pretty sure they'll pick it up. Or they decline it, make him a restricted free agent, and then re-sign him, which is probably the way they'll go, actually. Because if they pick up the team option, then he becomes unrestricted after that. So they'll probably decline it. And then, re-sign him. He's just a name to keep an eye on because we saw, honestly, not absolutely an elite skill set. Not far away. There were a few, again, he wouldn't be like the guy impacting great teams and making them championship contenders. But on a mid-team, 3-4 year run as a starter, we'd love him in fantasy, which is not where I thought I'd be when we're talking about Pig Williams. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing. Baseball, I'm heading off to some baseball games soon. I'm excited. Golf, high-stakes soccer, it's all there. And FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. If you're following with action, you can make it a little bit more thrilling. With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach, the dumb bums. If you're using FanDuel, you can track your favorite matchups, you keep it fresh on the app with the daily promotions that are new and they're fun ways to bet. It's easy, it is fast to pay out, and regular season games feel like must-watch events. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers, you can just bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com and FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right. We are, of course, here talking Oklahoma City Thunder. We've done both Jalen Williamses. We've done Chet Holmgren. We've talked about Cason Wallace. Let's talk about another one of their high-level prospects that I don't really know what to say about, Nikola Jovic, because he didn't play. He had a knee injury just before the draft. They were a little bit weird about it over in Europe. They didn't tell us what it was, and it came out, torn ACL. And then eventually they said it was a partial torn ACL. So maybe he can play, but the Thunder said, no, we're ruling you out for the year. Let's rehab it and get back to business. They still took him in the lottery because obviously they didn't need him, and now it's another player to come in and help them. Jovic is a guy who we do worry a little bit about his shooting. He's a really strong playmaker. Some of his rim finishing and driving stuff is a concern, and so is him defensively. But this is a guy that some of the stats from his European days for Jovic translated incredibly well for fantasy. Like, incredibly well. The assist rate was great. The efficiency was okay. I worry about the shooting. And now we're in a situation like, where do we get enough minutes? You could easily say, well, Shea's not really a point guard, so Jovic can grow into that player. Yeah, possibly. But he would need to develop into just develop into a situation where the team just goes like, oh, he's just too good. He has to play. Because that, otherwise, like, why would you stop what's working? But he could. I don't think that happens, but he could. It's tough without seeing him in an NBA game or even a summer league game to know how the athleticism, finishing, shooting, defense is going to play out. But when you can get a high-level assists player, that's useful. I think he'll be in the rotation immediately, but it's not really going to be a strong fantasy situation because, again, to get those 28 minutes, you need to take them away from Isaiah Hartenstein or Alex Caruso or Lou Dort or Aaron Wiggins or Cason Wallace. And sure, maybe he can take them from Isaiah Joe. But he's more likely to be a 17-minute-a-night player who'll step up into roles in other games, and we'll see how it goes. But we also know this. Guess what rookie point guards do? They suck ass. They're terrible. Sucking ass? That's great. If you want to do that, you're on your own time. But from a basketball perspective, they're bad. All right? Rookie point guards are terrible. And I expect it to be terrible. And there is I don't think he's a good enough player to go, well, even though there's no clear path, he'll force his way to a starting 35-minute role. I don't see it. But just another guy that we can find somewhere else. So I just wanted to mention him. And I made a mistake when I did the Denver Nuggets show. I forgot to mention Daron Holmes, who actually I think is going to be part of the rotation immediately for the Nuggets. And while I don't know that he will play with Jokic, he might a little bit, I think he's Kal-El Ware-ish in terms of fantasy impact. Daron Holmes. Just wanted to mention that. Now we can go on to some of these other Thunder guys, because guess what? They've got another rookie point guard who was actually really good, and that's Ajay Mitchell. He was a very early second-round pick and part of the negotiations, I'm guessing, in terms of that pick, was the Thunder saying, we don't have the roster spot, so you're on a two-way. He was on the two-way. He basically exhausted all of his games and was ready to be converted, and then he busted up his toe. and he was out for like months. He came back at the end. They converted into a full-time contract. I thought he was incredibly impressive. His stats in college were unbelievably good. There was some concern for me about his lack of speed and athleticism, but when we saw him in the NBA, like he shot 38% from three. Great. He was fine on ball. He was able to play off ball a little bit. He averaged 2 assists in his 17 minutes and 0.7 steals. They're not great, but you can also double those numbers, get to 4 assists, 1.4 steals on a team with Wallace, with Shea, with the Bronco. He showed that he's a rotation caliber NBA player. And again, they get into a situation where how can he play every night? Because Wallace, Caruso, Topic, these guys are all here. I don't obviously have the same upside value placed on Ajay Mitchell than I do with Topic or I do with Wallace, but he's a rotation caliber player. He's a backup point guard level player. I'll use the Bucks example. Like if he was there, is he better than Ryan Rollins? Like maybe. Wouldn't be far away from it. Would he be better than like Colin Gillespie starting games for Phoenix last season? Yeah, very easily. And that was him as a rookie. He didn't suck as much ass as most rookie point guards do. Again, he's a little older. He's 23. But incredibly impressed. The Thunder just have so many of these guys that if they shake loose and find spots on other teams, we're going to be jumping all over them. I don't think Ousmane Dieng's one of those players, though. Dieng was a very young player when he was drafted. He played down here in Australia in the NBL. He's a French 6'9", power forward, small forward, center, point forward. I don't even know anymore what he is, honestly, because we just haven't seen him. He had a hand injury this season. The shooting hasn't come along. I think he still can pass and defend at an okay number. Like his steal numbers are pretty okay, but 410th ranked player, 37 minutes a game. Like we're getting close. They're going to make a decision on an extension for him. It's his 4th season coming up. I don't think that they'll give him one of those. He just didn't play. And rightfully so, because he's not good enough yet. Now, he was a prospect. He was a project when they drafted him. But he hasn't pushed through into a larger role. He played some games in the G League this season. He played 8 games and 30 minutes. But you're 3 years in, he averaged 18 points. He shot 36% from 3. 6 assists and 5 rebounds is interesting. 1.3 blocks is okay. He's this weird sort of center, power forward, point forward, assists, blocks sort of player. But every time we see him in the NBA, I don't really, what do we get? He doesn't play enough. He's not good enough to play enough. And even if he shook free onto a different team, the assists are interesting, but I'm not sure that he's good enough to really get me moving. And I'll say the same about the next guy, Dillon Jones, who, like Ajay Mitchell, had an incredibly, unbelievably good college statistical profile coming out. He played for Weber State. He was like a big steals, blocks, rebounds, played point guard as like a power forward body. He is incredibly slow, and I worry about the shooting. He started some games in the NBA. He played 54 games, which is more than I thought he would play. He played 10 minutes a game only and averaged 2 points with 1 assist in those 10 minutes and shot 25 from 3 and 38 overall. When I watched him in Summer League, he put up some good numbers, but that team was very weird and he still did not impress me. Athletically, I think he's just off. I don't think the shooting's ever going to be there. He's one of those guys that needs to be in a scenario where he's like a focal point and does all these things, which worked great at Weber State, but it will never work well, I don't think, in the NBA. We can go look at his G League numbers because he played 23 games down there. He averaged 13.5 points and shot 30% from 3. That's yuck. Didn't shoot well from the line. Also yuck. But did the other things. 7.5 boards, 5.7 assists. Defensively, not there. Sam Presti's an unbelievably good GM. He's not infallible. He makes terrible draft picks. He makes great ones. Ousmane Dieng, bad pick. Bronco Jaylin Williams, excellent pick. Trading back to get Dillon Jones, trading back into the draft to get Dillon Jones, yeah, not sure I'm in on that one. Trading away the pick that was Alperen Sengun so he could get Poku, yeah, not really, yeah. I don't believe in Dillon Jones. I didn't believe him in the draft. He's already 24. Nothing really has changed my mind on what Dillon Jones could potentially provide. And the last guy we want to talk about is someone we just don't really have any information on. That is Aussie legend Alex Ducas, who, what did he play? Barely in the NBA, honestly. He played 6 minutes a game in his 21 games. Shout out to the Aussie media that is forced to push the Aussies in the NBA narrative. We've got a champion. Yeah, he couldn't play a single second in the playoffs because he's a two-way contract guy, but yeah, he's on the roster. And most people would not even know that he played in the NBA. But Alex Ducas, 48% from 3. Hit half a 3 in his 6 minutes a game. Is he going to stick around? I don't really think so. He's 24 years of age. He's a 6'7" shooter. Again, those shooting numbers are excellent. Very clearly. That's 48% from 3. But unfortunately, if we go to look at what he did in the G League, he shot 21% from 3. He only played 6 games in the G League, though, and I don't really know what else he's producing. So it's great that Alex Ducas has a championship ring. It's great for Aussie basketball to be able to promote that. I don't think that there's really anything more in that, and I'm pretty sure that they will be clearing out that spot to bring somebody else in. Maybe that pick 44 will jump into that two-way slot, because I think that Carlson, maybe Flagler doesn't hold around. Someone else will be able to jump in there. Ducas, not really thinking there's much in that, and that's okay. Shout out to him. That's the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll be coming back with the Indiana Pacers, and then the final mock draft, and then the live NBA draft show. So, you know what to do. You hit subscribe. You never miss one of those episodes. Pacers show probably coming today as well. And the second Pacers show will be tomorrow, along with the final mock draft and all of that great stuff leading into the draft. Guys, we are done here. Maybe there's a trade before. Usually there's a trade 2 or 3 days before the draft, but the Kevin Durant situation probably knocked that one off. So I don't know we get any more of it, but that's okay. Guys, we're done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.